Hello students, Ms. Tron here. We're just going to do a quick art vocabulary video, and then after that we're going to get right into the drawing. So please get out your paper, pencils, and any kind of coloring material that you have. If you want to use paint or crayons or markers or something else today, colored pastels, you're welcome to it. But let's now review some vocabulary. So now we're going to review a few vocabulary words and learn some new ones. The very first thing we talked about this year were our various lines and shapes. We also talked about our various color families and why an artist would want to use these color families to create unity or harmony or even some contrast. In last week's art lesson, you drew a cake, and the cake was three-dimensional. It was a cylinder. When we have a three-dimensional shape, we call that form in art. So this week we're going to talk a little bit about positive space and negative space. Positive space is the space that the object takes up, and negative space is the space around objects. Value is a word we use in art to describe how light or how dark something is. And you can create lightness or darkness just by pressing harder or lighter with your pencil. So the last two words I want to talk about are scale and proportion. Scale is comparing the size of one object to another object, whereas proportion is comparing the sizes within a whole object. Okay, now that we've reviewed some vocabulary from past weeks and now learned some new vocabulary, let's use these concepts in our art. Time to get out your paper and your drawing. Okay, students, so what I have here is the candy drawing. Now, everyone in the school is doing the candy drawing this year. This is from the kids that are just a little bit younger than you, but that's okay. We're going to use some of the concepts they used in their art, but we're going to take it up just another level, and I'm going to show you how you can incorporate some three-dimensional forms into your art. First off, though, let's talk a little bit about negative space. Negative space. Negative space is everywhere we see the green on this art is the negative space. That's a space that's not being taken up by the objects. The positive space, on the other hand, are the objects or candy themselves. So today we're going to be drawing some candy. Ooh, look at all this different candy I have. So I want you to start thinking about candy and how we're going to incorporate it into our art today. So for the first part of the drawing, I'm going to show you some very easy things, and then I'm going to show you some ways to kind of just amp it up a little bit. And okay, so even though we are at home, what you want to do with whatever your drawing material is, you can use a pencil. If you feel like you need to erase, you could go straight to a marker if you'd feel better doing that. But and let me just focus this a little bit better here, so we're hopefully there we go. That's a little bit better. So you can draw with a marker or with a pencil. So first off, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write my name at the top. And I'm just going to talk to you about some really basic things and show you how to draw some really basic concepts, then I'll take it harder. So don't know if you've ever seen the spiral lollipop. It's like a very fancy kind of lollipop. The way you can do that is by just drawing a circle on your paper, right? And then what you can do is take that line, and I'm actually going to reshape this just a little bit to make it a little bit more round. Sometimes you can adjust as you go. make your circle a little bit better if you want to. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm going to continue a spiral all around. So a spiral lollipop is just really fancy. If you want to do it, it's really fun. From there, what I'm going to do is just draw 2 straight lines down from it. Now, as you're drawing your candy today, you can draw it anywhere all over your paper. You can get really creative with it. Your art does not have to be like mine. So now what I'm going to do is draw 2 diagonal lines down. Okay? And I'm just going to end this like this to be the handle or the stick. That's what they call it. The stick of the lollipop. So there we go. I've got my lollipop. Now, there are some other very simple 2-dimensional shapes you can use on your candy drawing. Super duper easy. You can easily draw a rectangle like this. In fact, a lot of the candy, like the little pieces of candy, like the Tootsie Rolls and whatnot, and oh, you know what? I don't have my peppermint candy, can be made with just rectangles, ovals, and circles. So that's a really easy way to do it. I'll show you how to do some of those. So I got a rectangle here. I could make a circle or an oval. Super duper easy. And I could do a whole bunch of those all throughout my paper. Remember that I'm showing you easy first, then we'll get into hard. So with these, what I can do to make the little, kind of like the little ends that come off, or the cellophane, the little plastic around the candy, is I'm going to go to the center of the end, and I can either do a diagonal point, point, point back. That's one way to make the cellophane. So look over here, I'm finding the center, and I'm doing diagonal point, point, point. Or another way to do it is to go to the center of the oval and do curve, curve, curve. And then, look, I'm going straight across to the other side, finding a midpoint, and now I'm doing curve, curve, curve. So it just depends on whatever look you want to achieve with your little pieces of candy, your little Tootsie Rolls or peppermints or whatever. Over here I'm going to do point, 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 and point, point, point. Okay. Now, to make a peppermint, there's actually, I'm going to do another peppermint right next to this one. So you, actually that one's a little bit too big. So you know some different ways to do it. So I've got my other peppermint here. And I'm also going to do a point, point, point method. Okay, so there's 2 ways to do it. There's an easy way and a hard way. The easy way is just to go from the center and, oh, look at this. I'm doing something that has radial balance, so I'm just doing my little pieces out like that. That's one way to make a peppermint. Now, a way to add a little bit more design to it is I can start in the center and I can curve my lines going out to the edge, okay? So those are some things you can do. We also have candy corn. Candy corn is pretty easy to draw, and you can put it in some different directions on your art. It's basically like a triangle that's a little bit, I just realized something. I need to, I think this thing is, aha. I think it'll still, aha, now you can actually see what I'm doing. Sorry, this technology is a little bit new to me, so hopefully as we go along, I'll get better at it. So I've got my candy corn. Now what I'm going to do here, and I wonder if I can move this out of the way too. I'll learn that another day. With the candy corn, you basically can start like with a little curve at the bottom, and then maybe also bring a little U, kind of almost like a little U shape up, like this. Great thing about candy corn, it can go in all different directions. That's the great thing about this this candy drawing we're doing today, is things can go in all different directions. So once again, to make another candy corn, I can kind of do like a slightly curve at the bottom and then just curve it up And I can make a few of those all over the place. Okay, just like that. And I can actually, if you notice, the candy cane or the candy corn is divided into 3 sections. So I can do a little piece here, a little piece there, and a little piece there. Some other little curved lines. I want to talk to you about something else. In the lesson, we were talking about scale. Scale is the comparison between the size of 2 objects. And I bet you can figure out why the scale doesn't make sense here. We have a lollipop and a candy corn. Now, obviously, candy corn is very small in comparison to a lollipop. But here, I did not really make sense of the scale because the candy corn is as big as the lollipop. So as you're drawing your candy today, really think about, what is the scale from one piece of candy to the other? Which one is larger? Which one's smaller? That's something you can think about. Okay, so we got that. Another thing that you can do on your candy if you want to is you can design it. Maybe add some lines or shapes to it, okay? You could, I don't know, maybe add some little circles all over it or something like that. Lines, designs, all kinds of fun little details you can add. Details really will make your art look a lot better. We have M&Ms. Wow, what a fun little package this is. So if I kind of rip off, when I was growing up, the M&M packages were in paper, so they were easier to rip, but if I'm going to cut this with the scissors and open it up and see what I got inside. Ooh, all kinds of little M&Ms. Those could be fun to draw. Now, scale-wise, I noticed that the M&Ms are a little bit smaller than the candy corn, aren't they? And they are the shape of little circles. So that's something else I could do on my drawing is maybe draw, I wonder what it would be like to draw some, maybe if I put this down here, I wonder what it would be like to draw some M&Ms coming out of this bag over here on the corner of my art, okay? So I'm going to draw my little M&M bag. By the way, if you have candy at home, if you want to do something called observational drawing, that's what I'm actually doing right now, where you look at the candy and draw it. That can be very, very useful to get better at drawing. So let's see, I've got kind of like this zigzagged edge of the container, and I've got a little, I can actually see the inside of the package a little bit, and there's an M&M coming out. That's kind of a fun concept. So I could maybe put a few little circles for M&Ms down. I noticed they have that lowercase m on them. So that could be something I could add into my art if I wanted to. Okay. So we've just gone through kind of like some basic ideas for drawing. And now what I want to move into are some things that are going to be a little bit more complicated. In fact, let me show you some of my geometric forms. We have a cone, we have a cube, we have a sphere, we have a cylinder. Oh, you probably remember last week when you drew the cake, it was cylindrical, okay? I'm actually going to work with you and show you how to do a rectangular prism. Rectangular prisms are great if you want to make your some of your candy look three-dimensional, and we're also going to talk about how you can use a cylinder to make your candy look three-dimensional. So now I'm going to show you how to make a candy bar. Ooh, a three-dimensional candy bar. How fun is this? So we're taking it to the next level. So right over here, what I'm going to first do is I am going to draw a diagonal line down, okay? And then I'm kind of letting my candy bar kind of come off the page a little bit. And then I'm going to draw another diagonal line down, kind of in the same direction. Okay, so basically, it's as if I'm drawing a little rectangle here in the corner, or part of a rectangle. You could add the whole rectangle to your art, but anyways, to make this look a little more three-dimensional, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3, or actually 2 little vertical lines off each end, okay? So I'm kind of, this is going to be a rectangular prism, or at least a partial view of a rectangular prism. You know, if you need a ruler to draw, you can. If you don't need a ruler, that's great too. So now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to draw another line connecting the ends of my rectangular prism. And same thing again, keeping that same width going in this direction. I'm going to go like that. Okay, so now I have a little like candy cane, or not candy cane, a candy bar shape, flat rectangular prism. Now, I could simply just draw little squares all over it, but if I want to make it look just a tad bit more inviting, I'm gonna, from this side here, I'm gonna go down about maybe an inch or so here, and about that same amount over here. It doesn't have to be exact. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here, and I am going to draw kind of a zigzag line. A zigzag line around all the way to the other side. So this is going to be as if the paper's been ripped off, and it's not going to be an exact zigzag line. I think you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to kind of making up like some different lines connected, straight, some curved, some zigzagged, all the way around to the other side. Okay? Yours does not have to be exactly like mine. I'm trying to think of kind of like crumpled paper, what that might look like. And then from here, from between the 2 dots, I'm gonna just do a little bit of a kind of like a slightly curved line over here. So this is kind of like the foil that's gotten ripped off candy bar, right? So now what I can do to add like a little bit more of a look into it. In fact, another thing I can do, because I just realized something. This paper here is overlapping the candy bar. So what I want to do in this little area here where I have that line, I'm just going to go through with my pencil and erase it. Because obviously, because this paper is here, we shouldn't be able to see the edge of the candy bar. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of draw a few little lines in here. Oh, I see another place I need to erase lines. Right here, I'm going to erase this line and this line. Okay? So I got my little candy bar. What I'm going to do now is I am going to draw 3 little rectangles, or it could even be 3 little squares. So here I go. And in fact, on this one, I'm not going to see the other side of it, but I am just drawing some little rectangles, kind of like you would see on a Hershey's bar. Now remember, guys, if this is too hard for you, that's okay. Stick with the more basic candy. Keep it basic. You don't have to take it to this level if this is too difficult for you. These are just suggestions, okay? In fact, you can just be working over here on this if you want to. So wow, I now have a 3-dimensional candy bar. Cool. Let's see. Oh, here's another one you can do if you want to make your candy a little bit more 3-dimensional. We can turn it into a rectangular prism. Let me show you how you do that. So the first thing I want to do is just draw a rectangle. So I'm drawing a rectangle here for my candy. Now, off of this side, once I have my candy drawn, I want to make some diagonal lines all in the same direction. Maybe about, I don't know, maybe about, not exactly half an inch, maybe more like a quarter of an inch. So I'm doing a diagonal line here, I'm doing a diagonal line here, and I'm doing a diagonal line here, right? So guess what? Now I am just going to connect up these parts, okay? And so now I have my rectangular prism. Okay, same thing as before with the little plastic or cellophane ends. What I can do is find the center point of the end of the candy, and what I can do is just kind of make like a little zigzagged shape right here for the cellophane or the plastic. And same thing over here. Even though I can't see this end of the candy, you know what, I just realized something too. This needs to be a little bit more defined. There we go. So over here on this side, I could go ahead and do the piece over here on that side. So there we go. That's one way you can do it. Let's talk about more of a Tootsie Roll type cylinder, or a fruit chew, or another kind of candy that comes like this. So these I'm seeing are cylindrical. Let's see if we can do something with that, okay? So the first thing, if I want to make a three-dimensional cylinder for candy, I want to start by drawing two lines that are parallel to each other, okay? So two lines that are parallel, right? Now, here on this side, I'm going to do a gentle curve up, okay? So then I'm going to go to the other end of that, and I'm going to do another curve. So I'm mimicking the first curve. And then what I can do over here is I can complete it. So it's almost as if I have a little, oh, it is an oval here. Okay? So let's do that one more time. We could even do it in a slightly different way. I could start, you know, another way to do it is I could start by drawing my oval first. So if I draw my oval and I do two parallel meaning two lines going in exactly the same direction, and then once I'm done with that, I can just curve it up like this. Okay, so now I can go here, and just the same as before, I'm making some cellophane, right? So I can kind of go in there and do like this, and then imagine what it would look like on the other side. So that's how to make some three-dimensional candies. There's another way to make your candy look three-dimensional, and that's by using a change in value. You know, you might notice right now in the M&M that based on where the light is coming from, this side of the M&M is darker and this side is lighter. So I can show you two ways to do this. I'll show you with a pencil first, and then I will show you with a crayon so we can try it in some different ways. So if I'm working on creating some value on an M&M, I could just shade it in with a pencil. And then if I want to go a little darker on just one side, that will make it look a little three-dimensional. I can even create what's called a shadow underneath the M&M too if I want to. So here I go, creating a little shadow right there underneath the M&M. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is, I have crayons, but you might even find it easier to work with colored pencils. So I'll get my M&M here. Let's pretend like this M&M is a red M&M. Okay, so that's actually more of a, I guess I picked up a colored, what was this? This is red violet, so it's actually more purplish, but I've colored it in. Now if I want to make it look a little three-dimensional, I can just kind of darken one side. I could even go through with a gray crayon and try that out. So there's a few different things you can do. If we wanted to add some value to the candy bar, how could I do that? Well, one thing is, if the light is coming from this direction, this side is going to be the darkest, okay? So I could go through with a darker value like this, and actually maybe I'll use it like this. I could just darken in one side, make this side really dark, because that's, if the light is coming from this direction, then the furthest point away from the light is going to be the darkest. By the way, if this is too complicated for you, just keep drawing some of these other pieces of candy. We want you guys to take it to what your level of comfort is, okay? So now, on this side, I would just make it just a little bit dark. And then I could also add a shadow, right? Maybe there's a shadow on the table or the surface, the tablecloth, whatever, where the candy bar is, right? So it's a value change. I've got, what kind of values do I have over here? I have a light value, I have a middle value, and a dark value, and all of this was just achieved by how hard I was pressing, okay? So here I am with my candy corn. How could I could just, make one side slightly darker if I wanted to. So there's a lot of different ways to work with this. You can also just, like I said, keep drawing more simple shapes and color them in. So now, moving on. And I know this is a little bit, there's a lot of different levels of ability here. That's okay. You can make it, like I said, as hard or as easy as you want. Right now, what I'm going to do is I am going to start to work on using some paint or crayons to color mine in. You're welcome to that, or you can just keep drawing. You can come up with names for your candy. Maybe you could name your candy after yourself. It's really up to you what you want to do with your candy drawing. Oh, here's one more that's kind of easy. You could do a jelly bean, like this. If you start a curve and like do a little back curve like that, that can be kind of like a fun jelly bean. I'll show you that again. So you make like a little bit of a rainbow shape, and then you just curve around the end and curve it back. Okay, so I am going to get out my paints. Okay, so now we're at the point where we're going to finish off our art. Now there's a few ways you could do it. You could just work with pencil. You could add some shading, add some different values with dark, middle, and light colored pencil. That's an idea. You could work with crayons if you have crayons available. You could use pastels if you have pastels. You could use a paint box. You could use markers. You could use colored pencils. You could make it really bright and colorful, or maybe not. You know, it's up to you. I'm going to start to go into my... oh, there's another thing you can do if you want to. You can take a marker. If you kind of kept yours more graphic, which means like a little bit more basic, less shading, less three-dimensional, you could go through with a marker and you could outline what you made, and you could, you know, use that as kind of like a nice strong background if you want. It's really up to you. Okay, so here I am, and what am I going to do now? There's another thing too. As you're drawing, you don't have to be completely focused on me. You can take it your direction. So if you do want to learn how to paint in the lollipop, if you've ever seen these spiral lollipops, they kind of have this little thing where it's these colors that come to the outside like this. So that's what I'm going to try to do here. My paint box, but you could do it with your crayons or something else. I'm going to make mine do some purple paint too, I guess. So yeah, you could paint, or you could color it in, or just kind of, maybe this is more of a practice piece of art for you, more than a finished project. That's okay too. It all depends on, you know, what you want to do with it. Oh, I like the way that turned out. Let's see. For my little peppermint, I think some of these more basic ones, as you can see when I was working with the younger kids, and some of you guys, this might be where your ability level is at, and that is okay. I just wanted to kind of meet everyone's needs and show a lot of different things you could do. But if you're more like this, that's perfectly fine. Some of these I think I'm going to go in and just outline them with my Sharpie. I think what I'm going to do is paint that in. Where is that teeny tiny paintbrush? I need it. Okay, so I also wanted to remind you, art class is 40 minutes long. You know, if you finish early sometimes you could free draw, not during the live sessions, but you know, when it's a pre-recorded, or you could go back and always look at something again if you want to. There's a lot of different things you could do. What I'm going to do now, I guess I'll work with this a little bit. You can really make your stuff very detailed if you want to. I think I'm going to start by painting all this in gray, and then I'm going to go back into the little... Actually, I'm going to pretend that this is not completely clear cellophane. Maybe there's a little bit of green on it, right? And then go back and maybe add just a little dot of blue in each of these areas. I was trying to think maybe about what could be done over here. My paint box doesn't have any brown in it, but I was wondering if I just went through and kind of colored over it, if I could still see the pencil marks a little bit. You know, you could come up with a name for your candy bar if you're drawing a candy bar. You know, even if you don't want to draw it like this, you could just simply, let me see, where's a scrap of paper? You could just simply draw a rectangle. Just draw a rectangle like that and write something on it, or just draw the design of the candy bar. That's an option. Now the inside of the foil, usually, I'm looking for my gray crayon again. I don't know where that went off to, but the inside of the foil usually is kind of that metallic silvery gray. I guess you could leave it blank, or maybe I'm just going to go through with this pastel a little bit, because that's the only gray I could find. I don't know where my gray crayon went off to. And that actually looks like it needs a little bit more, maybe like something a little bit more defined. Sometimes as you work, you kind of adjust and figure out what the next thing is going to be. Just kind of play around with it a little bit. And then figure it out. Okay, so I'm going to make the candy bar, the paper on the candy bar, I think I'm going to make that maybe like a nice bright red. Might be good. I'll use this one. This is, and I could go back in and come up with a name for it, you know, if I wanted to. Although my name is kind of in the way, I guess I could erase my name and put my name somewhere else. And, you know, write the name of my candy bar on there maybe somewhere. Something like that. And maybe I can come back and do that later. Okay. And, for painting in the candy corn, you can, it's pretty easy to do that if you want to do that, you know, just, you could either, you know, really just work with the pencil or keep it like a little bit more bold and graphic. And of course, we know the candy corn is yellow at the bottom and orange a little bit above that. So I know this is a lot of information to absorb, but hopefully you figured out a way to make a really cool, a really nice composition with the candy. Of course, this is the other one that you can think about too. Now at this stage, our 40 minutes are almost up. You can either continue on creating, maybe paint in the background, painting your stuff, maybe save it for the end of the day, or, you know, for a time that you might need something else to do. But we're now done, and I hope you have a lovely day. It's been really good talking to you. See you next Monday.